So this would be equivalent to sending most baby boomers several tens of thousands of dollars. Now, what are the baby boomers likely to do with that money? Do you think they're the kind of people that after they retire want to open a bunch of new factories that produce electric cars and hire all these people and invest into the future? Well, some of them might, but probably most of them will not. As a matter of fact, most of them are likely to use this new money to pay down their mortgage debt in the house they're going to retire in, which in itself is deflationary. It sucks money out of the debt-based system. And if they don't do that, well, they could purchase another car, they could purchase a second home, they could get some clothes, they could get some food, and isn't this going to prop up the economy? Well, it would lead to a temporary boom, but this is why it's not going to be sustained. First, it's not going to be sustained because the average laid-off Joe whose rehiring was triggered by the one-time purchasing spree by the baby boomers. I mean, let's take an example of this. Let's say Karen got $10,000 out of cashing out of the stock investments that she used to hold, right? So she goes ahead and she spends $5,000 purchasing a new car at a dealership. But let's say that there are a lot of other baby boomers that decided to purchase another car. So now the dealer in the dealership feels good. He's like, oh, my business is really getting off. This is moving. Things are happening. So I better hire Joe, whom I laid off during this crisis, so I have more salespeople to help me out in my business. He rehires Joe. So what does Joe do? Oh, Joe's super happy. This is great. I'm going to pay off my credit card. I'm going to move to a fancier rental now, and all these good things are happening. And Joe gets employed. He stays working for a few months. But then the baby boomers don't come back in 6 months and in a year, and they don't keep purchasing cars from the dealership. So the dealer goes, ooh, my business isn't doing as well as I thought I would be doing, so I better maximize my profit. Well, where can I cut costs? Oh, wait, I can lay off Joe. This way I don't have to pay his salary. So what happens next? Well, Joe gets laid off. He defaults on his credit card debt because he is trying to keep his fancier rental while he finds a new job. Well, guess what? Eventually he doesn't find a new job because new real jobs did not appear in the marketplace, so he loses his rental, right? And this is just one reason. I mean, the other reason that the boom would no longer be sustained is that a lot of these baby boomers would want to buy a house to retire in. And this would really help the struggling housing market, right? It would lead to modest gains in housing prices. And now all those people that had been discouraged during the housing bust and that wanted to wait it out and not put their property on the market so cheaply, they go, oh, look, I was right. Real estate is a good investment. It's increasing in price, but I don't want to have that many loans anymore, so I'm going to put my house on the market now and take the little profit that I can, right? And all this supply comes rushing back in on the market. What happens? Supply exceeds demand. Woof! Prices go back down. There's a third reason, however, just in case you think that this is not enough. The boom dwindles, according to the third reason, through the energy crisis, because there simply will not be enough spare capacity to service the debt-based economy. And without growth in capacity, debt cannot grow. This sounds complex, so let's take an example of this, right? For example, because of shortages of food caused by high prices of oil and high prices of fertilizer, a lot of shelves in local community stores are going empty, So eventually the vendors there, or the owners of the stores, they go, well, my business is not worth it, I'm not selling enough merchandise, so they either go bankrupt or they sell their stores, they give the money back to the bank, again, sucking money out of the system, and they leave with whatever they can get, and this is completely deflationary. So inevitably, the United States will find itself in a very similar position to where it is now, but it will be a lot more precarious. I mean, if you think it was really scary when the S&P 500 was at 667, well, in this future, it will look promising if it's at 120, and I mean it. It will look promising. But let's stop here for a second before we rush to any conclusions, because quite frankly, we have only, examined one side of the story. there's a whole different side of the story here, and that's the side of the corporation. It's the side of the corporation that issues the stock. See, the corporation doesn't care how many real people are enjoying the profits from its now elevated stock prices, as long as it's shored up on capital. And let's look at this corporation as the owner of the share pie that the people and the government can buy, right? And it wants to sell it for as much money as possible. It's natural. It wants to sell as much of it as possible for as much as possible. And let's examine this in more detail because it is inflationary.